Hi, I'm Amy Bodkin, and I'm autistic. A lot of times when people think about autism, they tend to think about Sheldon Cooper or Rain Man, and those are just stereotypes. Sometimes people will even think of people like Temple Grandin, but she's just one autistic with one set of unique strengths and weaknesses. There is so much diversity within autism because our brains develop differently from the average brain, and even small changes over time can end up creating some pretty significant differences. So all of us have dramatically different strengths and weaknesses. What makes us the same is that we all developed rather differently, and it impacts the way that our sensory information comes into our brains and the way we respond to it. This is one of the reasons why the rainbow infinity symbol tends to be the symbol most autistics prefer as a symbol for autism, because it represents how infinitesimally unique we all are. Neurodiversity, yes, there's a lot of great things about it because variety is the spice of life. It makes the world an interesting place to have people who see the world differently. But it does come with some challenges because at the end of the day, you're an autistic person living in a neurotypical world. And that can be rather difficult because you're trying to operate in a world based around a common experience of sensory information. And your sensory information is not functioning in the same way that someone else's is. It can create a great deal of stress that can lead to all kinds of health conditions because stress can be very difficult on the body. And we can end up having very different symptoms to different types of conditions because we feel things differently sometimes in our bodies than what's typical. And it can make it very difficult to access things like proper medical care. People are looking for one type of symptom for a particular problem, and we're not experiencing that one, we're experiencing something completely different. So there's definitely a lot of challenges. And also socially with trying to interact in a world where people have a particular set of expectations of how you're supposed to behave or how you're supposed to react to things or how you're supposed to experience things. And it's not always the case. This month is Autism Awareness Month, and you're going to be seeing a lot of lighted up blue and until every puzzle piece fits and things like that. And that's not really how we see ourselves. We don't tend to see ourselves as missing anything or as being a mystery. We're just us, the same as anybody else. The average person out there doesn't see themselves as missing something or being a mystery. They're just them. And it's the same way with us. So, while awareness is great, what we really want, and I think what most people really want, is acceptance. Just acceptance. And that's one of the reasons why I'm starting a podcast this month called Kids Are People Too. I think most kids, they want to be accepted for themselves. And I think a lot of times they don't feel accepted for themselves because they don't always act or behave or do things in the same way that adults expect them to. I think this is particularly true for autistic kids, because then you're really not doing things the way that the adults around you might expect. So I'd like to be able to use that time to highlight, we're just people too, just like everybody else. And that comes with some really wonderful traits and characteristics and things that we bring to the world. And it can also come with challenges, just the same as anybody else. One of the things I'd like you to challenge you to do this month is I mean, yes, you might become more aware, you might become more knowledgeable, but instead of focusing on that, try to imagine how someone else who's not the same as you might see the world differently. And try to work on accepting that and that person.